Great. It says we're live. And welcome, everybody. And we are really happy to be here this evening. And I'm not going to, for tradition, I'm not going to go through the chat and welcome everybody, but hello and welcome everybody. And we do want you to participate and ask questions and be very involved in this. And today, well, as you know, I also want to be sure and say, kind of as a mission statement, this panel are a group of fish keepers that also have reptiles. And we have fish channels, and we sometimes bring those reptiles on those channels. But this is a way that we can get together without having a reptile channel and each share and host each month. And we have a YouTube page. It's called Reptales. And our focus is on having guests that can help us, also help other beginners. None of us have been keeping reptiles more than a few years, so we're definitely beginners. And also we have guests such as Gray, Gray's Reptiles, that is the experience, actually a breeder and sells snakes. So today we have a little bit more than the usual, so I'm real excited. I'm going to just bring him up so you can see him. And welcome, Gray.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Well, we're excited about it, and what really jumped out at me when looking at the channels that I'm subscribed to was that Gray's family is involved with everything he does, all the good times, the hard work, all that stuff. So his wife and his two girls. So that slides right into what we're looking, for people to be involved with their families and have them involved in their hobby, especially people starting out. You need all the support you can get. So welcome, Gray.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to tell us any more about you, any more detail? Or?
Sure, I'll be more than happy to. So I'll try to make a long story short. I do have a tendency of talking a lot, so if I go too much, just let me know. But but I got a lot of great stories, but I'll try to make it short. So again, my name is Gray, and I own Gray's Reptiles with my family. It's my wife, Sylvia, my two young daughters, Miranda and Emma. They're ages 14 and 8 years old. I started out with reptiles when I was a little boy. I lived in a place called Whittier, California. My mom and my sister had horses at a stable at a ranch around the corner from our house. And when I was a little boy, about 6, 7, 8 years old, I just loved going to the ranch with my mom and my sister. They'd ride the horses, and I'd go out looking for snakes, lizards, stuff like that. And I really got interested in reptiles. And when I was about 8 years old, I went to a mall with one of my mom's best friend's daughters and went to a pet store, and they had a baby red-tailed boa constrictor from Colombia. And it's like, oh my gosh, I would love to have that one day. And sure enough, that Christmas, my mom got me the snake.
Wow.
And my mom honestly was afraid of snakes. She didn't want any snakes in the house, but she knew how much I wanted that one snake, so she got it for me. And she ended up falling in love with the snake. We had him for about 8 years or so. He passed away when I was on vacation. It's sad, but my mom ended up loving him, as part of the family. And one of my dreams from that point going forward was eventually one day I would love to have my own reptile shop, because I love snakes, lizards, all that stuff. And it was one of my dreams. But, things change. And I ended up going in the United States Coast Guard for 8 years. So I served in the military. When I got out of the military,
for that.
My pleasure. I loved it. When I got out of the Coast Guard, I was a manager for an environmental company in San Diego, and I got hired to go down to Mazatlan for a couple of weeks to do a job down there. And I got to meet my wife at that point. But of course, she didn't speak any English. I didn't speak Spanish. And I would call her up once in a while, writing down on a little note what I want to say to her. And eventually I ended up moving my job, moving down there, got to know her, got to know her family. A year and a half later, we got married. And while living in Mazatlan, I used to go, I worked in the fishing business down there. And some days I'd go with the captains and some of our clients and go to this one little restaurant near the beach. And the top of the restaurant was palm leaf. And one of the captains, he goes, "Hey, great, look up there. There's a snake. It has a baby boa constrictor." So I caught it, took it home, and had it in a shoebox. I didn't have a cage at that point.
Whoops.
Hi, Bob.
Something here to show you.
I didn't touch anything.
She freaked out. She freaked out. She didn't know what was in there, but she knew it was something not good, at least to her. And she jumped back, and I opened up the box, and I showed her the snake, and she started crying. She was so scared. She goes, "Get that out of here." And I explained to her how I really love reptiles and everything else. My wife is very loving, very giving, so she allowed me to keep it as long as it's away from her.
Mhm.
We ended up having the snake for about a year. And in that time, she grew to like the snake. She knew it wasn't going to hurt her. She knew it wasn't this little slippery, slimy, bitey creature. She actually would hold the snake, and she enjoyed it.
Wow.
But we eventually let it go in the wild, exactly where I caught it. So it went back to where it was, back to its home. And now kind of jump forward. My wife, got her legal residency and then a U.S. Citizenship. So we moved back up here. Had my first daughter, Miranda. And then later on, like 7 years later, we had Emma. And one day I said, you know what? I would love to take you guys to a reptile show. There was a reptile show that would come on in San Diego once a year in July from Reptile Super Show. His name is Rami, who puts it on. And I took my two girls, my wife, to the show. And they just loved it. They never knew how many different types of reptiles, lizards, snakes, different colors, different patterns, morphs, all this stuff. It was amazing. They were like in shock. And my wife and my little girl, Emma, they split off and wanted to go look at their things. I wanted to go look at some things with my older daughter. And my older daughter, Miranda, saw this one snake. It was a lavender albino ball python, a little baby. And she goes, "Oh my gosh, I want that. I want that." I didn't know where my wife was, but I told my daughter, Miranda, I said, "Okay, let's hope mommy doesn't get mad."
Yeah.
And so we bought the snake. I think it was like $300 back then. And we got the snake, started walking around the show, and everyone was wanting to take pictures with us because we're actually holding the snake walking around the show. And then my wife, my little girl, Emma, saw us and they came over. My wife was all, "What's that?" "Well, it's our new pet." And she got a little upset, but she saw my daughter Miranda with her eyes and how much she loved it. So she says, "Okay, we'll keep this one, but this is the only one we're ever going to have, okay?" Not a problem.
That's how my famous last words.
Yeah, exactly. I think reptiles are like potato chips. If you eat one chip, you can't stop. You got to keep going, right? Same thing with the reptile. It doesn't matter if it's lizards, snakes, whatever. You have one, you can't stop. They really, really grow on you.
They do.
And especially some of the reptiles have certain characteristics and such an intelligence, it surprises you. And you just want to have them, get to know them, have them part of your family. So about 6 months later, I was looking into all the different types of morphs, with the different genes of ball pythons, having different colors, different patterns, stuff like that. And I started to show my wife, my two girls, what we can do if we paired up our lavender albino with something. And they said, "You know what? Let's do that. We'd love to have some of those." So we got a female for him. And then I did some more research. And it's like, oh my gosh, look what else we could do. And I talked my wife into another snake. And then another snake. And she's all, "Okay, that's it. No more until you can show me what we can actually do." And I said, "Okay." So we got our first pairing together. And about 8 months later, we got our first eggs. And what was surprising, this was all brand new to us. We didn't know really what we were doing, what the female snake was going to look like when she was going to ovulate. And when she has a pre-lay shed, all that. We didn't know anything about that really, except for what we learned on the internet.
Right.
And we met this one band, these girl band that opened up for the Go-Go's here in San Diego a few years ago. And we got to meet that group, got pictures with them and everything else. And a week later, one of the band members from that group that opened up for the Go-Go's sent me a private message. And she goes, "Hey, great, we're doing a music video in LA this weekend. We want to know if you want to bring one or two of your snakes and have it in our video."
Oh,
Wow.
what?
I said, oh my gosh, let me ask my wife. And I asked my wife, my two girls, they said yes. So we took a couple of our snakes that the girl band thought that they would like to have in their video because they had their own idea what their video is going to look like, what colors would go best with their backgrounds and everything else. And so we went up there, and it took about 6 hours to do about 6 hours to do like a 20-second scene.
Wow.
But it was amazing to watch how they made the music video. And a week later, that girl snake that was in that video actually gave us our first clutch of eggs ever.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. So when the eggs hatched, one of the snakes that we held back was a female spot-nosed clown. We held that snake back and we named it after the young lady from the band that invited us for that music video. And when my wife saw those babies and what they looked like, she goes, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." And I said, "It is. It's like art. When you think about all the different genes that are involved, codominant, dominant, recessive genes, and what the different genes do together, it's beautiful." And my wife, my girls were just starting to fall in love with this idea. So I did a lot of research, and I thought about, okay, if we want to make this my dream business, which I've always wanted to have since I was a kid, what do we have to do? How do we invest? How do we make sure we don't fail? We want to succeed. Because, we're a small family. We live, almost paycheck to paycheck. We live nice, but, we're an average family. So we don't have $1 million to invest into reptiles. So I did a lot of research, and I talked to my wife and I talked to my two little girls because it's a family decision. Because either we win as a family or we fail as a family, but it would be a family decision. I don't want it to be just up to me to make that decision. Right. If it goes good, it's great. If it goes bad, I didn't want that to be my sole decision. Right. I want it to be a family decision. And we decided to go with it, and we started investing, whatever we could. And we were very particular on the type of ball pythons we were purchasing, because we knew it would take time, depending if it's a recessive gene or a dominant gene. It can take time to raise up those snakes. Females can take anywhere from 1.5 years to 3 years before they're ready to go. Males, 6 months to a year. But then if you deal with the recessive genes, if you don't have two visuals with that gene pairing together, the babies won't come out visual. They'll come out like a normal ball python, a classic ball python. So it's going to take another 1.5 years to 3 years before we can pair those babies together. And then another 1.5 years to 3 years to pair them back together, those babies, to get the visuals.
Okay.
Now,
but
can I ask, just to be sure, visuals are a snake that are expressing the gene. You can see that that have that gene.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. And so we made really great decisions, and we decided to go for it. So we were investing whatever we could. Got certain snakes, not a whole bunch. We started, I think, with like 12 snakes. And then we started to get a few clutches, and we got those babies. And we were able to sell a few of those babies, which allowed us to reinvest back into what we would hope to become a business. And after about 2 years, we were actually starting to make a little money, enough that we can go ahead and get our LLC, because we need to report our taxes and everything else, because we're going to be selling online. We want to sell to shows. So we got our LLC, we got our seller's permit from the state of California, and we became officially Gray's Reptiles LLC. Now, I think we've been in this about 4 years now, and by the end of each season now, we have up to about 120 ball pythons.
Wow.
Oh, gosh.
And you sell them all every year?
Almost. Luckily, we our rodent provider, he's able to take the snakes that we are unable to sell, or are too low value, like a low value snake, like $50, $100 snake, that the cost of shipping the snake will exceed the price of the snake, right? So for those, and since we're not selling at the shows yet because of the pandemic, we were working with our rodent provider, and he would take those snakes off our hands, and we give them to him at an inexpensive price, just to make sure that we were thanking him for the help that he's provided to us.
Okay.
And he would sell those snakes to the stores and other breeders that can take them to the shows and sell them. Like we did recently with some snakes that we had left over from last season. And because the cost of shipping, it just wasn't worth it. And I need to make room for all our babies that are coming up this season. So he's able to take those snakes that we couldn't sell yet from last season, and he gave them to a friend of his who took them to a show, I think, in Arizona, so he could sell them at the show. So they'll go to good homes. So with that, it helped us out, it helped him out. And now we got the room for this upcoming season, and we couldn't be any more happier than what we've been producing this year. What we've been producing is something I wanted to do for like the last 3 years, almost since we started, and we're now producing those types of visual ball pythons that I've wanted.
Right.
And it's just amazing. It's such a great feeling. And some of these snakes, as soon as we post some pictures on Instagram or in our YouTube video, I've got people already sending me private messages saying, I want that one, I want that one.
That's awesome.
It's great. I mean, it's not really easy. You do have to market yourself. You have to market yourself on YouTube. You have to market yourself on Instagram, Facebook, going in person to reptile shows and walking around, getting to know the different breeders, going up to people who bought reptiles and look at what they bought, talk to them. That really helps sell yourself. And if you become a business, it helps sell your business because people then know who you are.
Right.
Not only do they know you from YouTube or Instagram, but they know you in person as well, too. And word of mouth goes really quickly in this community. So luckily for us, it's been very, very good for us. Thank God. It's really amazing. I couldn't be any more happier than how we are doing. And we're at the point now where we are going to sell for the first time at a reptile show this January.
Oh, good luck.
Thank you very much. It's one of the biggest reptile shows in Southern California. It's called the Reptile Super Show, and it's going to be at the Pomona Fairgrounds, or Los Angeles Fairgrounds, or Pomona Fairgrounds, whatever you want to call it, in Pomona, California. And most of the biggest breeders in Southern California or California will be there. And we know the owner who does that show. And when he heard that we wanted to get a table at his show finally, he was so excited. He and I talked on the phone for a while, and he says, "Great, I'm going to take you under my wing." So when you get here, he goes, "Any questions you have, anything that you need, you just ask me. I'm here for you, and I want to make sure you have a great time at our show." And he makes he made me feel like part of the family. It's just a really, really beautiful community.
Awesome.
Wow. That is a great story, man.
Thank you. Thank you. And like you all know, my wife, my two daughters are involved with this as well. My wife, her part of this is basically to help me to find out which one of our snakes are boys or girls. For the life of me, it's hard for me to what we call pop a ball python, where you get the snake near underside where he goes to the restroom, or he or she goes to the restroom, and you have to kind of put a little pressure with your fingers as you're holding the snake. And as you put pressure, you have to push a little bit in order to see if it shows signs of being a female or a male. And for the life of me, I'm afraid to do. I can't do it. I'm afraid I'm going to hurt the snakes with my big hands, because it's easier to do it when they're little babies, little hatchlings. And so my wife, she learned from the rodent breeder that we use to get our feed for our snakes, and she caught on so fast. She's like,
wow,
she's good at it. She grabs a snake, does this, and 2 seconds later, she goes, "It's a boy. It's a girl. It's a boy. It's a girl." So I said, "Okay, that's how I can help you. That's how you can help us with this business." And my older daughter, Miranda, she helps me clean the tubs. She helps me take care of the snakes. I'm the only one that feeds them, though. But otherwise, Miranda helps me out with a lot of the other things with the snakes. My little girl, Emma, her involvement is to kind of give me her feedback on what she wants to see us produce, what snakes she wants us to pair together. And we talk about that before each season. And she gives me her ideas. I give her my ideas. And then usually I'll say, "Okay, we'll go with this, this, this." And then with your ideas, we'll go with that one and that one. And that way we're working together and producing things that we all want. And it's a family effort.
And how old are your girls now?
Miranda, my older daughter, she's 14. And my youngest daughter is Emma. She's 8 years old.
Oh, that is awesome. What a great family business.
It is. And that's, I thank God every day for this. I mean, I could have had a family that would say, no, don't want any reptiles. But luckily, they were all understanding. And once they got to know the snakes and hold them, they fell in love with them too. So it just worked out for every single one of us. And every time we open up some eggs, it's like Christmas. You never know what you're going to get until you open it up, and then you're surprised. We love it.
Now, do you have a brick and mortar store, or are you out of your house?
Out of my house. So let me go and walk you to my snake room here.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Look at those pictures. I love your wall.
Oh, and here, we enjoy meeting actors, actresses, musicians. So we met Leonard Nimoy, William Shatner from the original Star Trek. We met a lot of actors and actresses from Star Trek Next Generation. Some of you might know Dick Van Dyke.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we met him. We met Mini-Me.
Where do you run into these people?
Those were conventions. Like with Mini-Me, he was at a convention in Anaheim. It's called Wizard World. They only did it for 2 years, and we went to both of those, and they just had a lot of amazing artists, actors, actresses there, so we got to meet him. Of course, we went to
Shirley. That's the name of two of my geckos, Laverne.
Oh, is it really? That's awesome. And then we would go to San Diego Comic-Con. I think we went once or twice. Emma's never been yet, but Miranda, she was very small, so she doesn't really remember it. But we met actors walking around. They'd stop and we get pictures with them. We met one of the gentlemen from the A-Team, Laverne Shirley. We met the Fonz for Happy Days.
Oh my God, is that the guy from F Troop?
This is from McHale's Navy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Met him. Them. Let's see who else that you might know.
So I think I've met one actor in my whole life. This is amazing to me.
Oh, that's awesome. And again, other actors and actresses, like we met Guillermo del Toro, and we met Doug Jones. Doug Jones does all the monster characters for Guillermo del Toro. Let's see, and then musicians, we met Erasure. We met Tony Basil from that song Mickey. Hey,
oh,
Mickey,
you're so fun. You blow my mind. Hey, Mickey.
You got it. You are awesome. Yeah, we met her twice. Love her. Let's see here. Wesley Snipes, met him. We met Flash Gordon, Mickey Rooney, Della Reese. We met the Bionic Woman.
Woohoo, Lindsay Wagner.
Lindsay Wagner, she was amazing. We met Freddy Krueger.
Hey. I think I stay away from that one.
And then we met all the nerds from Revenge of the Nerds. Wow. We met the lady who did the voice for Belle from Beauty and the Beast. We met the lady who did the voice for Pocahontas.
Wow.
We met the lead actor from the movie Airplane. And he still has a drinking problem, by the way, if you know that movie. And of course, we met the two guys from Weird Science. Wow. And the gentleman from Up. And then musicians, we met like Tommy Two-Tone from the 80s, 8675309 Jenny. We met Howard Jones, again from the 80s. When in Rome, we met them. In fact, the lead singer from When in Rome, Clive Farrington, he and I chat all the time on Facebook, and we met him a few times. And the first time we met him, he wanted to meet my family and I. So after they were done performing here in San Diego, he came out. Him and Andrew Mann, this gentleman here, and then Clive Farrington. They came out and they chatted with my wife, my two girls, and I for like 10, 15 minutes while Flock of Seagulls were performing. Very, very nice gentlemen. We met mid-year from Ultravox. So, yeah, and Katrina, and then we met Katrina from Katrina the Waves, Walking on Sunshine. We met her. So, yeah, a lot of fun. But anyways, let me take you to my snake room here, our snake room.
Collection.
And let me get this out of the way here.
Yeah, Dee Dee, I'm scared of Freddy too. Freddy Krueger. Hey.
Definitely.
He
You
was a
live
nice
the next
gentleman in
town.
person, though.
You live the next town over from my brother. You said Whittier, and he's in. The name escapes me.
Oh, Pico Rivera?
No.
No. Yeah, it's been a while. We left there when I was about 9.5 years old, and then we moved to San Dimas. But I loved it over there. Back then it was a nice, quiet town, but now it's a lot busier. But
Yeah.
But anyways, this is our snake room. So again, we have our Grange Reptiles on the wall here, and then we are currently working on our pairings that we're going to be doing this season. And we've already started to pair a couple of our snakes and got some locks. If I get a lock between the male and the female, I put the dates down that I see them locking, so I keep track. And as we start coming up with more ideas for pairings, we start adding them here. Like right now, we're working on who we want to pair our fire bamboo female to, and our death by chocolate female. Death by chocolate is a death by chocolate. That's going to be the chocolate Mojave pinstripe. And we got all these lines here that we're going to be putting in some pairings here as well later on during the season.
Wow.
I remember that snake. I was looking at your stock about a week ago. That snake's gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And over here, this is our hatchling rack. It holds 65 babies.
Now, is that dry erase marker or that's perma marker that you keep the whole time?
Dry erase. I see a lot of people do it differently, but we use a dry erase marker. That way, when we clean out the tubs and wash them out, all we do is wipe this off and we can put it on there whatever we want to,
Oh, okay, right.
So what we do is we write on here if we're selling the snake, or if we're holding the snake, we'll put it on there sometimes. We put down the ID of the snake. We put down the morph. In this case here, the yellow belly hurricane. And this one's 50% double head for lavender albino and clown, and 25% for hip pied. So the lavender albino, the clown, and the pied are all recessive genes. So if we actually get lucky and we pair this up to like one of the parents that has those same genes, we could get a visual yellow belly hurricane, lavender albino, pied clown. That'd be awesome. But one of our pride and joys that we just hatched out recently, those are our hurricane piebalds. And let me show you one of those right here.
Oh, yeah. All those too.
And this is a hurricane piebald. Can you see her?
Oh, yeah.
She got some really, really crazy patterns on her back here. And that's done by the hurricane gene. The hurricane gene is a codominant gene, which means if you pair a hurricane with a classic or normal ball python, 1 out of every 2 eggs should be a visual hurricane. In this case here, we paired up our original hurricane male to one of our pieds, which is the pied is a recessive gene. We got a couple visual hurricanes from that clutch, so they're all 100% ahead they're all 100% ahead for piebald, which this one is. Grew up those snakes, paired them back together. Actually, we took one of those snakes and we paired it up with one of our orange stream pieds this last season. And because the male was 100% ahead for pied, and we paired him up with a visual pied, we actually beat the odds and we got 6 visual pieds. The odds, I think, was 1 every 3 or 4 eggs. So out of a 10-egg clutch, we got 6 visuals.
Oh, wow.
And they were all hurricane pieds.
Nice.
And she is beautiful. And this one here goes for about $3,000.
Ooh, yikes.
Dear Lord.
Yeah. Another snake that we sold really fast, and we have to still grow it up a little bit. We have to feed it at least 4 times before it's ready to go out to its new home. And it's this one here. It's another hurricane. This one is a pastel hurricane. And it's 100% hit or 100% double hit for Desert Ghost and Clown. And I'll show you a Desert Ghost here in just a moment. Desert Ghost is another recessive gene. This one goes for $2,000, and we sold her within 5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea snakes cost that much.
Oh, we have one snake here that's for sale for $6,500.
I was going to ask you to show that one.
Oh my
Yes, I'm going to find it right now. And that's our leopard hurricane clown.
Yes.
And let me see if I can get her without her biting me. There we go.
Oh, wow.
And this is her right here. The hurricane is doing all this crazy pattern on the side of the snake here with the leopard gene.
Mm-hmm.
Leopard is a co-dominant gene, so if you pair up a leopard with a classic or normal ball python, 1 every 2 babies should come out leopard. Same thing with hurricane. But because we had a leopard 100% hit clown female, and we paired her up to our male hurricane clown, we were actually able to get this visual clown with leopard and hurricane visually as well.
So if you pair 2 snakes that nobody's really pairing up and breeding, do you get to create the name for that snake? That's what Juan was asking.
And then you put on, I think it's called, was it World of Ball Pythons or something like that? And you can put your name on there with a picture of the snake that you hatched out and what you want to call it and what genes it has. As long as no one else has that yet, you got it.
And then anybody else who breeds those 2 things call it that name.
They should, yes, that's correct.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
And Miranda and Emma, they already have some names for some of the snakes if we get lucky this season or next season.
Yeah, right? Wow.
But this is our hatchling rack. This will hold all our babies. It holds 65 babies. Then we have 2 racks for adults. This holds 10 adult ball pythons. We have another one over on the other side of the room. I'll show you in a moment. Over here, this is for our medium snakes or adult males. This holds, I believe it's 40 snakes. And then here's another 10-tub rack for adult females as well. But besides ball pythons, we actually have in here a female super dwarf reticulated python.
Ooh.
But she loves, reticulated pythons have a good feeding response. So sometimes when I open up her cage, she wants to come out because she thinks it's going to be food.
So when you say super dwarf, how big is she going to get full grown?
About 8 feet or so.
That's it? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And there she is right there.
Oh, yeah. Does she always thinks it's feeding?
Yeah. Once I get her out, she's fine. And it looks like she's kind of dirtied up her cage, too.
How long does it take you to clean all those tubs?
Oh, my gosh.
Or you don't do it all one day?
We split it up. We don't do them all on one day. We split it up. Like we'll do like 25% of our tubs one day, like on a Saturday or Sunday. And the next weekend, another day, we spend time doing that, like a few hours each weekend. Because it does take time. We take them out outside and we scrub them with soap, water, a sponge, get them nice and clean. And then we do have some spare tubs up top too. So what we'll do is when we're getting ready to clean, we'll get these tubs ready with new bedding, new water, label them, and as we start pulling the snakes out to clean those tubs, we put them in their new tubs, and then we take their tubs outside and clean them. Once we're done with those, bring them in here and do the same thing over and over again every weekend.
Man, I wish I could do that with some of my fish tanks.
I hear that. Oh, and I want to show you guys that the cell desert ghost female. So let me get her here. And that's her right there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
She's really pretty.
And that's, again, a recessive gene. The pastel is a co-dominant gene, which is you pair a pastel with a normal snake, a normal ball python, classic. 1 every 2 babies should come out pastel. But when you put pastel with the recessive gene called desert ghost, it comes out just like this, and she is just beautiful. This is, I think, one of my wife's favorite snakes that we have.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's our snake room. We currently hold about 120 snakes in here at the end of each season. At the end of the season, I think we're going to get another rack for adults, which will hold 30 adult females. So we'll be able to hold about 150 snakes here every season at the most. For now.
I have a lot of reptiles, and I find it my best interest to create and breed my own food. Do you do any food for yourself?
We tried that before, but I have a full-time job. I work on in tech support with a company called Lytics here in San Diego. That's my full-time job. That's how I make most of our money for now. So for us to do the rats, it was just too much. My wife tried to do it on top of her working part-time, taking care of the family, my wife, my 2 kids, myself, cooking, cleaning, all that stuff.
Right.
And then trying to take care of the rats. It's too much because you have to clean the rats out minimum once a week. If you wait more than a week, if you don't have good ventilation or fans going, it gets really stinky.
Oh.
All right, and it can. I mean, you can give them some pellets, food pellets that might help with the smell from the urine. But otherwise, you got to clean them like once a week. And for us, it was costing us too much money and time to do that. We just had tubs and at the point for the rats. It was just too much. And we found a gentleman that has that sells rodents here in San Diego for feed. And what we pay for the rodents from him, it's worth it. It saves us a lot of money, time, and all that stuff. So,
and do you have your very own freezer just for the rodents that you buy, or do you just use your regular refrigerator freezer?
Actually, we feed live.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we feed live. I try to do frozen thawed, and only about half of our snakes would take the frozen thawed. The other ones preferred live. And for me, to do half and half, no, because they all take live. They all took the live.
Is that because they're all babies and you kind of have to work your way up into feeding them frozen thawed?
From my understanding, almost any ball python, if you give it enough time, it should go to frozen thawed. It may take a few weeks, a few feedings to get them to switch over. Because once a ball python is really hooked on, let's say, live, and then you got to try to give it a frozen thawed. Okay. Some ball pythons might take it the first time round, which half of our clutch did. The others, they wouldn't do it. So for me to get them on frozen thawed, I'd probably have to do that or try that 2, 3, 4 more times, hopefully until they say, you know what, I'm hungry. Whatever you give me, I'm going to eat it. And then once they eat it and they realize, hey, it's still my food, then they'll take that from that point going forward. But for me, with 100 snakes and doing that is just too much work. If I only had a couple snakes, I was just starting out, try frozen thawed. It's really convenient because not everyone's going to have someone in their neighborhood that can sell live rodents. Right. And if you go to a pet store to buy a live rat, they are expensive. A live rat can cost you $5, $6 for one rat.
Oh my gosh.
So if you have 100 snakes and you feed them once a week, $600 a week times 4 weeks, that's $2,400 a month.
Okay, because I know Bob and Mike both have snakes. Pam and I do not. So I keep asking all these. They probably sound like silly questions.
No, they're not. They are not. Ask any question. But yeah, so we went with live, and we get a good deal on the live. And it's just worth it for us. We have more time to spend with the family and take care of the snakes and stuff like that.
I think Mike does also, but I just feed the frozen thawed.
Yeah.
And it's just a personal preference. I really don't want to. I mean, I get attached to bugs that I get to feed my skinks and stuff and keep them. So, I mean, I don't know how I would do with rats and mice. So.
You sound like my older daughter, Miranda. She's the exact same way.
Yeah. Just can't do it. I do have 2 snakes that I have been force feeding. One of them's just an assist feed now. If I just get it started, it'll take it and eat it. But that's frozen. And I suspect if it were live, that I wouldn't be doing that. But you're just adjusting.
Yeah, like you mentioned, sometimes it's just a preference too. So.
Interesting.
Thanks. But anyways,
Go ahead.
Bob.
You have some questions?
I do. Like you have that many snakes and it's feeding time.
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming they all eat on different days. Do you wait until they're done eating before you move on to the next snake? Or do you just put a critter in and close the bin?
I put a critter in, close the bin, and usually by the time I get to the next bin, I hear the snake and the rat.
Okay.
What I do is, because ball pythons can be finicky once in a while. It's just a known fact with ball pythons and some other species of snakes too. So you do have to be careful when you're feeding live rodents, because if you don't know your animals and you throw a live rat in there and you don't hear the snake in it right away, and if you think, oh, he or she's going to eat that rat later on, I don't have to worry about it, and you go off and the next day you come back to the snake and you find it's dead or it's bitten up, that can happen. So just to make sure, you need to go back when you're feeding live rats to your snakes, that you go back periodically and check on those snakes, make sure that they're eating.
Okay.
If they have not eaten the rat after a couple checks or something like that, we'll go ahead and pull the rat out and put it into a tub, save it for a couple days, try again later. Or if we have snakes that I know will eat another rat, because we don't like to overfeed, but some of our snakes, especially the retic, will like to eat another rat. So if we have a couple of extra rats left over, any of our bigger snakes that I know will take another rat. And if I know that the snake that was going to eat it wouldn't eat it, I'll give it to one of those snakes so we don't, lose the rat and lose money and stuff like that.
Right.
And then what we'll do is the next week, we'll try again. And if the snake still doesn't eat, then usually what we do is try a smaller size rodent. Sometimes, for one reason or another, ball python might get scared of a larger rat.
Okay.
And so usually if they stop eating, if you try to give them a smaller rat, usually that'll work. Or maybe if there's no hide, like a plastic hide in their cage, even though I haven't grayed out tubs, so they can't see outside. But still, the tubs can be a little bit big for a ball python. And ball pythons like to be in a really secure, tight area and dark, so they feel secure and safe. And sometimes if they don't eat, if you put a plastic hide in that tub with them, try again the next week and they'll eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the ones that I've been force feeding, another guest a couple weeks ago said it could be something as simple as humidity.
Yeah.
And I haven't had any problems with humidity in that habitat, but I've had problems with the snake needing more humidity than most snakes. It's doing much better now, but I think it was the humidity issue because I really increased it and doing much better.
Wow.
Yeah, it could be due to temps. It could be due to humidity. It could be due to their feeling insecure. It could be to if there are certain signs that might be getting close to breeding season, and they might go off feed for that as well too. So there's a lot of things that you'd have to look at to try to determine what it is. And again, it could be just the size of food that you're feeding them. If it's a newly purchased snake, maybe the previous owner is feeding it like frozen thawed and not live, or vice versa. And if you don't feed it the exact same that the breeder was doing before you, they might not eat, or they might eat.
Okay. And is that some of the information that you had written down on the tubs? Who ate what last?
I actually put it on the tub, and then I switch it over into my computer.
Oh.
So I have everything on a spreadsheet. So I can see exactly who's been eating. If they haven't been eating, I can see how long they've been not eating for, or if they every year, if maybe they go off feed for a certain amount of time, I can see a pattern. So like with our males, if they go off feed every year around the same time for, let's say, 2 or 3 months, and it keeps happening every year, then I can pinpoint towards being like part of the breeding season. They're just getting to the point where they want to breed and they don't want to eat.
That's a lot of administrative work, that not only tracking it, which I know we have to, and you have it on the other whiteboard, and then you also enter it into your computer.
Yeah, so the whiteboard is for the pairings and if they're locking or not.
Okay.
And I keep that on there throughout the whole season. I don't take that down. I don't erase it until after the season's finished. Then I'll take a picture and I'll put that on my computer into a folder for that year, so I know what pairings we have for that last season. So that way, as I'm selling snakes, or let's say a couple years down the road, I have got some questions about some of the snakes maybe we held back. I'll be able to go back and look at their ID,
Okay.
which tells me the year the clutch, and which baby of the clutch it was. And I go back to that photograph from that board, and that tell me exactly what that pairing was.
Because I know when I was getting my blue tongue skinks, I actually asked to see the parents, and the breeder showed me pictures of both parents. Do you have like if somebody says, "What does the mom look like?" or doesn't do that in the snake world?
Oh, they definitely do that all the time. So yeah, I'll take pictures. If I get a lot of people asking for photographs on some of our newly hatched snakes, usually what I do is I just let them know, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to do a YouTube video this coming up weekend. I'm going to show that whole clutch, and that way you can see the clutch, and I'll show you the parents as well on that video.
Okay. I gotta go through and binge watch your YouTube channel, see what's what.
Thanks. And just FYI, right now, I think we have a little bit more than 100 videos on our channel. We used to have like 150 more videos than what we currently do have. But a couple of years ago, YouTube was letting everyone know that if you had children in your videos.
I remember that. Yeah, oh my God.
And I got so scared. I didn't want to be fined $44,000 for each video that my daughters were in. And nobody in our reptile community was able to know for sure legally what would happen, if anything, if you had children in your video.
Right.
And all my videos previously had my daughters in them in every single video.
And now you know better though, right? You can have your kids in it.
Yeah, now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently I see a lot of breeders with their kids in their videos and the comments are still on. So if the comments are on and the kids are in the video, that tells me that they didn't mark them for children only.
Right.
Right now, when you upload a YouTube video, they ask you if it's if there's children or if it's for adults or whatever. And if you mark it for children, I believe the comments are off. And I need the comments on because I want to know what people have to say about our videos, our animals, and be able to communicate with everybody. I mean, that's what the platform's for.
Exactly.
So, but I did save all our videos. I still have all those videos on our computer.
I would load them up again, unless they're not relevant to you.
They are relevant, but I think now I just want to focus on what's happening now and in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're focusing on. And as we start going back to the reptile shows, because the pandemic is finally easing up, and like I said, we're selling it at the first show in January. Usually on our reptile show videos, when we'd walk around talking to breeders, interviewing people, what they're buying at the shows, we used to get 5,000 views on those videos.
Oh, wow. So you lost all those views.
Lost all those views.
And you're monetized, right?
No, we're not. We have commercials apparently on our channel, which I found out recently, but we are not monetized. And because right now we only have 1,300 subscribers on our channel, but we only have like 500 hours of view time for the last 365 days. In order to be monetized, you have to have 1,000 plus subscribers, and you have to have at least 4,000 hours of view time for the last 365 days.
I got you.
Since with the pandemic, we haven't been able to go to the reptile shows, so we weren't able to keep up those views and everything else. But now that we're going back out, we're going to the shows starting January, we're going to get those views back pretty quick, I think.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I would do? This is just me.
Uh-huh.
Your regular thing, what you're doing moving forward, but I would also pre-schedule those videos that you already have made, done, everything. Come down, you already have it all done. Schedule one out every week for this next year, so YouTube will see that you're posting twice as much, and they'll throw you more into an algorithm.
That would definitely help. I'll take that into consideration. That'd be awesome, because that would help with the algorithm, with getting us more people to see our channel and the views and everything else. So I like that.
I'll be watching. Do you have a playlist that is all your videos?
Yes.
And I'll be binge watching that.
You are awesome. Thank you so very much.
And anybody that's not subscribed, please go over and check out his channel and subscribe.
You might have asked some questions about some fish?
Go ahead.
All right. I grew up with fish when I was a little kid as well. I mean, only like a 10-gallon tank. And then when I was in Mazatlan, I met a gentleman who had a little fish store around the corner from where we lived. And he and I together built a 50-gallon aquarium for my wife and I. And we had a big, we had a Costumus, we had, I think, clown loach, some neon tetra, stuff like that. My wife loved them. But since we're up here in the States, we've never really had fish. I mean, I've got my daughter's like a beta once in a while. In this a few months ago, I think it was right before Christmas, last Christmas, my youngest daughter Emma, she wanted another beta. Well, no. I said, if we're gonna get some fish, let's go a step up. So I got us a 10-gallon tank to get some nano fish, And so what we got was a handful of the silver tip tetras, which we love. They are beautiful. And that's all we had in the aquarium. And I needed something else in the aquarium to help out with, any algae and any extra food that might drop to the bottom. So a couple of weeks ago, we bought some painted fire red cherry shrimp. We got like 10 of them. And right away, they went into hiding in the driftwood that I have in there.
Good. That's good. That keep them alive.
That keep them alive. And we were worried because we never saw them. Like maybe one or two shrimp we saw maybe swimming around once in a while, but then they go hide after they ate. But today we saw something I put a sponge over the intake for the filter so it wouldn't suck up the shrimp. And my wife, my youngest daughter Emma, saw what they thought was a dead shrimp. It was all blank or white. Well, I bet you that's like shed or molt. So I got my camera and I was able to zoom in, and I said, no, that's molt. And I showed them on the internet that the shrimp molt as they grow. So now my family is happy. But the thing is, I don't know how to get this shrimp to come out. I'll turn off the light. I'll pull out I'll put in like an algae wafer near the driftwood. And we'll watch them in the evening, and maybe we'll see one or two shrimp come out, but that's it. We don't see all 10 coming out. So I don't know if you guys have any input on the shrimp, on how we can get them to feel more comfortable and coming out.
One thing that always works for me, I'm sure other people have lots of ideas too, is put in some plants that are real easy to grow, that are almost kill proof and that are low growing. And that'll give them, not thick, just a few, 3 or 4 plants that'll give them some cover. And so they don't see the fish above them all the time. Right. That usually helps.
We got some Java fern in there right now.
That's perfect.
Okay, good. And should I continue trying to give the shrimp like an algae waiver once a day, or how often should I try to feed them?
Susie?
I was just going to say, I think they know what they're doing, hiding from the silver tip tetras. I don't know if you really want them coming out all that much, until you have like a whole colony where if they pick off a few babies, that's fine. You certainly don't want them picking off the ones that are breeding.
Okay, got it.
That's just me. Because I think a tetra, and I'm trying to think the silver tip tetra, that's about 1.5 inches big.
Yeah.
Right? Oh yeah, they would think that the shrimp might be a tasty snack.
So that's why the shrimp are hiding, probably.
Right.
Okay.
We have a guy that we all watch. It's called Lucas Bretz, and he builds little mounds of pebble piles. And the shrimp hide in there, and he sees them coming out of there just like enough, and then goes back in because they'll bring the food into those pebble piles. That keeps them safe too.
Oh wow! I might have to try that. That sounds good. The thing I like about our driftwood is we got a nice piece of driftwood. It's got a lot of cracks and crevices in this piece, which we're very lucky because I saw other pieces that are like almost solid wood. But this one has a lot of gaps and crevices from the hide-in, and they're very hard to see.
So why did you pick a 10-gallon? Just curious.
I know I should have probably gone with a 50 because the smaller the aquarium, the more difficult it is to keep it clean and to keep all the chemicals where they have to be, the nitrates and all that stuff. I'm kind of hating that I got a 10-gallon now. So
I would keep that 10-gallon for the shrimp.
Okay.
If you got a bigger tank for the tetra, but then again, that's what I did, and I ended up with quite a few tanks. I don't know if you want to take my advice, but that's what I would do. I would get a bigger tank for those tetras. You'll see those shrimp coming out. You'll see the shrimp and their babies all over if that's just a shrimp tank.
Got it.
And maybe throw in a mystery snail here and there in that shrimp tank. It'll be.
I heard those mystery snails do an amazing job with cleaning up.
Yep.
Are those the ones that lays eggs like on the glass just out of the water or something like that?
So if you don't want them to breed, keep it filled. But if you want them to breed, just lower the water a little bit. They'll breed.
Okay, got it.
And I love snails, so I never want to get rid of my snails. I love snails.
Right.
My daughters want snails, but I didn't want to have an infestation.
There's snails that don't breed in fresh water, but they live in fresh water.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
Yep.
But the mystery snails, they're kind of pretty, I think, if I remember right.
I love the mystery snails.
Another question, if you don't mind, is one of my favorite fish ever, and I've never had them, and I would love to one day, are discus.
Oh, my dream fish.
That's my dream fish too. But I know
They're
that
not
they
as hard as you think. They're not as hard as they used to be.
They're not?
Nope.
What would you recommend for a tank size for a couple discus?
I'll let somebody else who has discus answer that, but I watch KG Tropicals, and her name is Lisa, and she has a couple of beautiful discus tanks, and she just keeps the water crystal clear and with plants in it, and the discus love it.
And one thing I think about, if I remember correctly about discus, is they're very intelligent and they get to know you really well, and they'll follow you around and stuff like that.
Aww.
That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I heard.
Cichlids in general do that. And
they do that.
So yeah, that's true. They will. But yeah,
okay.
they're not my forte. I've never had good luck with them. I know Pam kept them. I don't know if Mike.
Yeah, I had them when I was in LA.
Yeah, I've had them.
But the water was so hard there that I always bought RO water from a little corner store to change the water and stuff.
And
so what is your pH check, Greg?
I can't remember now. I think it's close to, I think it's like 6.5 or 7, I think.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that's good, yeah. I lived in Bellflower, and the water was so hard that, it was like liquid cement.
Oh, no. And one more question. If we ever get discus, would I be able to keep some clown loaches in there with them?
You could, but the clown loaches are a little bit fast.
Okay.
And they get big.
The discus are fairly small. I mean, not fairly small, but fairly slow.
Okay.
As far as eating and stuff goes, they might get out-competed.
Okay. Got
Yeah,
it.
I wouldn't worry about the clown loach eating the discus.
No.
No.
Right.
I kept, when I had discus, I kept like rummy nose tetras and Congo tetras, and some of the smaller fish that like the softer water too. With them.
Got it. Yeah, I think I've seen some videos with
rummy
people with
nose
discus
tetras are excellent to keep with discus because rummy nose tetras are kind of like canaries. And as far as if the water quality starts going down at all, the rummy nose tetras start losing the color on their noses.
Oh, so it gives you a heads up that you have to do something.
You look at a rummy nose tetra and its nose isn't bright red, more than likely the water quality isn't good.
Interesting.
So whereas discus need good water quality, if you've got rummy nose tetras in there and the water quality starts dropping at all, right away.
Are the discus pretty hardy or no?
I didn't have any trouble with them. I had them in like a 75-gallon well-planted tank. And at that time, everybody else was keeping their discus in like bare bottom tanks and stuff. But I never had any trouble in the planted tank with them. They did real well.
Cool.
And do they ever breed? They ever breed for you?
Yes.
And what do you do with the babies if you have too many?
Is there such a thing? Too many discus?
Most stores will take them in a heartbeat.
Okay.
Like most fish stores, they won't give you a lot for them, because they have to make a profit, but they'll take them pretty fast.
Okay, so if I got some discus and then they had babies and I didn't want to get like 20 more tanks, I could probably take the babies to some local fish store or pet shop.
Yep, exactly. And at the very least, they'll give you credit for them.
Okay, perfect.
Another option might be for you, Grace, since you're already familiar with ordering and shipping process. Fish are easy to ship once you get it down.
Yeah.
There are places you can post them, like Get Gills.
Okay.
Several of us have stores on there, and
Get
sell
Gills,
fish
yeah,
that
that's a
are.
good one.
So yeah, and you just make your own little store on there and get your orders, and they get a small
Yeah,
percentage.
they'll go like that.
They
Yeah.
will go pretty quick.
Yeah, just email me first. They'll go like that.
You got it. You guys are amazing. Again, thank you so much for inviting me onto your live stream. You guys are truly terrific, and I really appreciate the invitation.
Thank you so much.
Glad
Anybody have any last comment or question for Gray? We've been here an hour. It's amazing. It's hard
I
to
was
believe.
It
wondering
went by very fast.
what size of tubs are you keeping your snakes in?
The adults are in, I think, 70-30s, they call it. And the, oh gosh, the babies, what are they in? I forgot off the top of my head. I'm always trying to remember them in quarts. I'm trying to remember them the size that they label them as. The only ones I really remember are for the adults, 70-30s. And that's because I want to order another rack. So I was looking at them recently. But I think, the medium-sized tubs are 50-40. And I think the smaller ones are 65-30s or something like that, or 30-65s.
What does that mean? 55?
It's just their way of knowing what size tubs they are. But as far as the quarts go, I can't remember off the top of my head what those translate into quarts on.
Is that like in a centimeter? Or 55?
No, I forgot how they use that, but the breeders like ARS, who we got these from, and then also Freedom Breeder, they all label them pretty much the same as those numbers. But if you go onto their websites like ARS or Freedom Breeder, look at those rack systems, and they'll tell you that they're like 70-30s, but then they'll give you the measurements, and they'll tell you the quart size as well.
Okay.
But usually the 70-30s are for adult females. That's a bigger rack, like the 10 tub rack systems that we have. Those for adult females. The medium-sized tubs are for smaller females or adult males. And then the hatchling racks are for babies up to about 400 grams.
Okay, cool.
Nice. Awesome.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much again, Gray. And panel, thank you. I don't think I mentioned that coming in, but guys, be sure and check out this panel. If you don't know this panel, they're awesome, and check out their channels and subscribe. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dee Dee, for being in the background helping us out.
Yeah, Dee Dee.
Yes, Dee Dee. Can I bring you up, Dee Dee? Can we see Dee Dee? Here she comes.
And guys, don't forget to go over and check out Gray's Reptile.
Thank you.
Check out his playlist and give him a little view time love.
Thank you.
I'm
We really
not
appreciate it.
YouTube ready.
Oh, you're not? Okay, well, there's
No.
Dee Dee's icon, so check her out, too.
But this was very enlightening.
It is.
Oh,
You're
great
making
video.
me more and more want a ball python. Like, stop.
I knew you guys would love him. All right.
And I love you guys. You guys are amazing again. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Gray.
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Good night.